All right, so let's talk a little bit about projectile motion. And projectile motion is the motion of an object that's been thrown or launched or shot. So anytime something's going through the air and it has no other forces acting on it besides gravity, it's a projectile. And these objects move in a parabolic path, so that's that curved path. Okay, so let's start by looking at an instance where we've just taken gravity out of it completely. So you're going to shoot a cannon, and the cannonball is going to move out of that cannon horizontally. There's no gravity to pull it downward, and so it just keeps going at whatever that speed is that it left the cannon. And so that's going to be the horizontal velocity of this cannonball. Nothing vertical happening because there's no forces acting on it in any direction after it leaves that cannon. We take that same cannon and we stick it somewhere where there is gravity. So let's bring it back to Earth, and we're going to shoot that same cannon, and that same cannonball is going to leave the muzzle of the cannon at that same horizontal velocity, but now gravity's pulling it downward. And so that's where you get that parabolic arc. There's still no other force acting on it after it leaves the cannon except for gravity. So that horizontal velocity is going to stay exactly the same, but the vertical velocity is going to start to change because it's now experiencing the acceleration due to gravity. So these two are considered independent of each other. So if it left that cannon at 200 meters per second, horizontally, it's going to keep going at 200 meters per second horizontally. But as it falls, that 200 meters per second horizontally stays exactly the same, but the vertical velocity goes from 0 to whatever its maximum value is right before it hits the ground. And it should make sense that the greater the horizontal velocity is on your object, how fast you throw it across, is going to increase how far it goes. So the vertical velocity, if you're just dropping it, it's going to fall until it hits the ground. But if you throw it upwards, the greater the velocity you give it when you throw it upwards, it's going to increase the height. So when you think about the projectile, you think about that arced motion or the parabola. Acceleration due to gravity is always acting on that. And once that ball or whatever it is you're launching leaves your hand, the only force acting on it is gravity. So if you imagine throwing the ball upward with a little bit of an arc, the vertical velocity is positive because it's going up, and it is getting slower and slower and slower until it reaches the top. At the very top, that ball stops and turns around. So at the very top, the velocity is 0. Turns around and then starts to come back down. And so now the velocity is increasing, but it's in the downward direction, so it's negative. So that's kind of the basics of projectiles. Hope the next time they're throwing a ball or somebody else is, you kind of think about what's going on with the physics of that thrown ball. Bye-bye.